Hey everyone, thanks for checking out this week's episode of Circus of Time Review Podcast. For this week, we're going to be talking everything that is the Ghostbuster movies. Don't listen to whatever Dan Aykroyd said, it's just not a franchise just yet. But as always, we want to introduce the two guests that I have on the show today. The first guest is a returning one. You can find him on his YouTube channel where he does his movie and television reviews, and he just did a recent live commentary of the Insurgent movies with which is going to be very interesting. I haven't watched it yet, but it'll be interesting. We have Lindsey from My 2 Cents of Nonsense. Welcome back.
Thanks, man. Thank you so much for having me, Carlos. This is always so much fun, dude. Seriously.
Oh, I love it. Love it. The combos, they definitely form a nice little gel that we can hopefully send to the studio so they could probably use one day, but I doubt it.
Wait, I thought you were already doing that, man. Come on.
Hey, I sent that with the mail. I said there's no anthrax in here. Just open it up. Just please, but I haven't gotten a response yet, so we're waiting. But the second guest we have on today, he's another returner from across the pond. You can find him doing his movie reviews as well as the short films with the VHS Pirates, and also I think he has some other projects coming on that he'll let us know about. We have Oscar from HeelPictures. Welcome back, Oscar.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for having me back. This is the third time, I believe, I'm on this podcast, and, three's a charm, so, happy to be here, talk about some Ghostbusters.
Oh, yes, we've all heard plenty about Ghostbusters, a lot of about the newer Ghostbusters, a lot of negative stuff, some good stuff sprinkled in here, but one thing we haven't really heard a whole lot about is a lot of the original stuff that, I kind of want to get into first before, we dive into the news about the newer one. But the first thing, kind of just a little introduction into everybody's, in their own intros into Ghostbusters. So what was it that got you into it? Was it the movies? Was it the cartoons, the toys? At what point was it you were older or younger? So Oscar, let us know what got you into Ghostbusters, or when did you see it?
Well, the first thing I remember of Ghostbusters was the cartoon, I believe, was on Fox Kids over here, and
the real Ghostbusters. Yeah.
I think, yeah. I just remember the logo, and it was cartoon. And that's all I remember, and I was just waiting for my X-Men cartoon when these were just on. So those are the first things I remember from then. But I watched Ghostbusters for the first time a few years ago because it's one of these things that I just heard it's like one of the best comedies ever and whatnot. And so I just thought I'd give the first one a go a few years ago, and I remember enjoying it. I remember having fun with it because I like Bill Murray. So it's one of these things, and it was a good ensemble. So I remember liking it, but it's nothing that I've ever raved over.
It's probably something because it was later in life, so you're like, I enjoyed it for what it was.
Yeah, I don't have a nostalgic connection to it. Like some people grew up with Ghostbusters, and they do have that connection where I don't have that. I don't have that. I have that with Wallace and Gromit, but I don't have that with Ghostbusters, but yeah.
What about you, Lindsey?
Okay, so actually, funnily enough, I found Ghostbusters 2 before I found Ghostbusters 1. Like, growing up, a friend of my dad's always had Ghostbusters 2 at their house. So whenever I'd go over, I'd be like, can we watch Ghostbusters? Not knowing it was the second one. And so much later in life, I discovered the first one. I'm like, oh, wait, this one's much better.
There's a better version out there.
Exactly. I mean, when I say much later in life, I'm like I was 11 when I think I finally found the first one. But anyway, so I grew up on that. And then, you mentioned the real Ghostbusters. Was that the cartoon that had the Ghostbuster in the wheelchair?
I think so.
Because there was two cartoons. I can't remember if I watched the real Ghostbusters.
It might have been the later rendition, but I remember the first one. I don't remember anyone being in a wheelchair, but I'm not gonna put it past you if there was somebody in there.
Okay. So whatever the one that had the wheelchair Ghostbuster in it, I watched that cartoon religiously. I think there was also one girl Ghostbuster, and so it was the inclusive group. Let's get as many people in here as we can. And I don't know, it's always fun. The ghosts were always insane. Just like in the movies, the designs on them, they're very unique. They're very iconic. You could tell the Ghostbusters just in the style that they have. But and they're kind of doing that in this new one, but it's also kind of its own style, which is interesting. But it's hilarious. It's written by Dan Aykroyd. It stars Bill Murray. They're funny movies. They're scary movies. They're action packed. I love them. I love them.
Yeah, and for me, like, again, with the cartoons, I had a huge influence on me as a kid as well. But I remember had seeing the first movie, but I always watched I always just catch the end where it was the Marshmallow Man. So I was like, I never even paid attention to the plot or knew what the beginning was like. Like I never, that was late, like 5, 6 years later before I realized it had a full movie. I was just a kid watching it in certain sections, but it was the cartoon that really got me too, because that's where the toys were based off of. Because I guess the deal that the cast made or whoever produced the movie, I think Ivan Reitman, is that they couldn't use the actual actor's resemblance, or like they couldn't be exact characters. So that's why the cartoon is like somewhat like them, but you really couldn't tell if it was them if you put them side by side. And so they can only base the toys off of the cartoon, not the movie, and so that's why we had all these goofy looking toys that came along. But of course, I have them. You know, I got them, still look for them. So yeah, so it was, I think, like everyone, the cartoon was a big influence on getting everyone into it, and I think they did a couple of renditions, like you said, Lindsay. I think they had the first one early, like mid '80s, and the next one was like the Burger King kids, where they had like an inclusion of everybody who was like a demographic of a kid at the time. So.
Yeah, it was the Extreme Ghostbusters. I found it.
So okay,
extreme.
Nice.
Extreme. Everything was extreme round about that time.
And I bet is the logo made of slime or something like that? Who knows?
I can't.
Was it an emphasis? Was it an emphasis on the S?
Possibly, like instead of like one
so
slash
E
cross
and
ghost.
Yeah.
So the cartoons were huge. Kind of another thing, just talking a little bit more about the original movie. You know, Dan Aykroyd was like kind of the main. He wrote most of the first movie before it was like rewritten by other people. But I guess his dad was, you know, a paranormal investigator, so he had a lot of like interest in this type of thing. And if you see other documentaries, he talks a lot about his own paranormal investigations, and he's got alien theories that, you know, they're interesting. So, but he wrote this movie originally, the Ghostbusters, and it was way more elaborate than what the movie came out to be. I guess they were like going into like, you know, third dimensions and traveling in time and like capturing ghosts in different time. Like it was pretty cool and elaborate, but they were like, we don't have the budget for this, so just keep it in one area, and we're not going in third dimensions. And so. Yeah, you know, it would have been crazy to see what could have been had they had the budget or let Dan Aykroyd run with it. But that's kind of a little bit more, that's a little backstory, a little behind the scenes on the original movie. But kind of talking a little bit more about the original movie and the cast, Dan Aykroyd, the whole news about rebooting the franchise or movie came about a year or so ago when he wanted to, you know, expand it like a franchise, like the DC and Marvel universe, and everyone's like, "You're crazy. That's never gonna happen." And then they came out like a month later with the announcement that we're gonna reboot the Ghostbusters with an all-female cast. So, what were your guys' thoughts when you first heard that they were rebooting? Not with the female, just heard in general they were rebooting Ghostbusters. So, Lindsay, what were you thinking?
I mean, I was down. It's a situation where it's like you need to see the cast, you need to see the director before you can really make a decision for me. Like, again, like I love Ghostbusters, so I wasn't opposed to the idea of a new one. But I mean, again, I like Ghostbusters 2 when I was a kid, but as I've grown up, you know, the flaws are a little more glaring. So that was a little nervous. But you know what? I've always tried to stay positive. Like since the beginning of this movie, I've been wanting to stay positive because it's just such a positive thing that I just want more. I want more. That's my stance.
What about you, Oscar?
I remember. This whole reboot thing, it's been a very long journey in terms of developmental thing. Because I remember the big start was like, we're trying to get Ghostbusters 3. Mm-hmm. And then Bill Murray was like, no. And then Dan Aykroyd was like, we're doing it. And Bill Murray was like, we're not. And then it was a really confusing thing. And Bill Murray apparently sent the script back ripped to Dan Aykroyd. And
oh, wow.
Yeah. And I just remember hearing just this whole thing, and I remember just thinking to myself, why? Like, I was kind of like Bill Murray, why? They're old now, what's the point? It's like, do we want to see old men running after ghosts? I don't, personally. But I remember when they decided, okay, it's not a sequel, but it's a reboot. And me, I was kind of like, okay, I'm more down for that than I am a sequel, because it just made more sense to me. But then I don't know. Again, it was the whole reboot thing, and then they said we're trying to do a cinematic universe. That's when I was like, okay, calm down, Aykroyd, for like just a moment. Like we've already got like 50 other cinematic universes to deal with and catch up with. Do we really need a Ghostbusters one? But I mean, I don't know. It's again the fact that I never necessarily grew up with it. I never necessarily thought like, oh, it's ruining my childhood. Oh no. But so I was just more like, well, if it turns out to be a good film, I'll be down for it. But it just didn't make much sense to me, personally.
Yeah, and Oscar, you're right. My thoughts too were like, they had been trying to do this with the third one, and it was always Bill Murray that was holding up the entire thing, because Harold Ramis, Ernie Hudson, and Dan Aykroyd were all gung ho about it, but it was always Bill Murray.
Harold Ramis died,
and then the literal nail in the coffin. Harold Ramis passes away, and so
a co-writer.
So now the director and co-writer possibly is sort of just like, all right, well now we have to do something else. You can't just be these guys because it's not going to be a true Ghostbusters film. And so now that they're having this reboot, and then even with the trailer, it kind of hints at the fact that, even though it's not going to be in the same universe, it still hints that, hey, this happened 30 years ago. I'm like, but it's not supposed to be in the same situation. I don't know. It's confusing.
That's trailer bait.
Yeah, exactly. They only did that because they wanted people to be like, yes, I remember this movie. I remember the Ghostbusters.
Nostalgia.
Exactly. That was the nostalgia thing they're hitting on. And so now going back over to the rebooting and then hearing that it was an all-female thing, did you think, would you think, oh, that's a gimmick, they're trying to change things up, or do you think, oh, it's a good fresh take on how this Ghostbusters can do? And of course, it needs to be funny. It can't just be like a gimmicky, oh, we just have 4 women taking over the job of the Ghostbusters, which kind of seems the case in this last trailer. But what do you think about, with the 4 women cast as it, especially the 4 actors who are cast now? Oscar.
I don't see this as a sexist point of view, but I just really felt it was such a gimmick when they said an all-female cast. It's the fact that they slapped that on. All-female Ghostbusters. It couldn't have been new Ghostbusters, and it just so happens to have females. You know what I mean? That just felt more like, hey, this property that you liked, here's it with just women. Which kind of, for me, I don't know why, I kind of got almost slightly offended for the women in terms like, what, they're not good enough to have their own sci-fi comedy thing? They have to be put in, a name where, where the men would be type of thing. But I mean, I was more for, okay, if they get good actors, I'll be for it. And I'm okay with them. I'm totally unfamiliar with is it Kate McKinnon and Leslie Jones?
Yeah.
Is that it?
Yeah.
SNL.
Yeah. Totally unfamiliar with them because being British, I don't watch SNL, so I don't know anything about that. But I can tolerate Kristen Wiig. I think she can be good, and I've just never really been a fan of Melissa McCarthy. Again, she can be fine, but I don't know. For me personally, the casting really make me go, oh, I need to see this. For me personally, it did feel slightly gimmicky, but I don't know. It literally became to a point where I was kind of like, it's just, this is not for me. Like what they're trying to do, and the fact they've got Paul Feig in to direct it, I was like, yeah, this is not for me. This is more for like the people who are more like, who like Bridesmaids or The Heat or Spy or something like that. And I'm like, I'm sure that'll be a fine film in that type of category, but that's not what I personally enjoy.
Yeah, no, I agree. I guess I never thought about it in that putting it in that little category of those movies. It does kind of look like it's going to fall in that category in that section. What about you, Lindsey? What you think?
Well, it was kind of the same thing. It was like until we fully saw the cast, I was trying to stay positive, and but the moment they announced that it was going to be Paul Feig directing it, I was like, okay, it's going to star Kristen Wiig, Melissa McCarthy, and then some SNL alums. And then they announced the cast, and it's Kristen Wiig, Melissa McCarthy, and some SNL alums, which is fine. But it made my other prediction a little, because the other thing I predicted was, oh, it's going to be Paul Feig, so it's going to be funny, but it's going to be kind of that kind of, I don't want to say lowbrow, but that kind of like gross out humor that you had in Bridesmaids, which I liked. I liked Bridesmaids a lot. I haven't seen Spy or The Heat. but I did like Bridesmaids. So, I mean, I was just a little worried that the comedy would be kind of geared towards that kind of gross out, whereas in the original, it wasn't. I mean, like, there were some, disgusting moments, like when Dan Aykroyd gets slimed, but the joke isn't necessarily that he got slimed in that scene. The joke is the way he's reacting to how he got slimed. It's like, guys, I got ghost stuff all over me. It's not, I got ghost stuff all over me. And then the trailer comes out, and it's exactly that. It's like, oh, God, I got slimed, and it got everywhere and everything.
Get it.
Yeah, no, she says that every crack. That's a line in the trailer. It got in every crack, which I mean, it's fine, but I'm just not sure. I think that this is going to be geared towards a very different audience than the first one is. I think, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. Again, I want to see the movie itself. Like, this is a director with a track history I like. It's a cast with a track history I mostly like. Like you, I don't really know McKenna or Jones so well. I haven't really watched SNL that much the last few years. But yeah, I want it to be good. I do. That's really has been my stance the entire time. I want this movie to be good. This is the one thing I'm not going to be negative about. I'm going to shit on Batman v Superman until the day I die, but I'm going to be as positive as I can about Ghostbusters.
Hey, that's fine. That's a good stance to take. It's a good stance to take for this time.
Stand by it. Be honest. I like it.
Well, I mean, I agree with you guys. Like, it was a mixed bag. Like, I do like Paul Feig. He's directed great movies. He's directed like episodes like The Office and other shows. So he's had his hand on a lot of funny things. So he knows comedy, but he has a couple like you were saying, Oscar, the He and Bridesmaids. They all kind of fall into a certain category of comedy where it's I would say it doesn't pull everybody in. It's not for everybody, but it's also like. It's not a hit every time either, and so I'm afraid that might be the case here with some of the comedy. I hope they're showing, the most unfunny jokes in the trailer. If that's their strategy, I hope that's what it is. Terrible strategy, but I think that's what they're going for. But when I heard it was the all-women cast, I was like, I wasn't like, oh my God, women don't. It shouldn't be Ghostbuster women. I was like, well, that's fine if they want to go with that, but I hope it's like actually like you said, the cast. I hope the cast is good, and it has to be a good writer because you can't just throw something like this together. And it kind of feels like they did. Even though the cast is okay, like Kate McKinnon. I've watched a decent amount of SNL this past year. She's actually a standout on that show, so I really do like her as this. But in the trailers haven't really given me much to go to like, I guess. And Melissa McCarthy, she's kind of doing the same Melissa McCarthy thing. And then we'll talk more.
She didn't fall over the trailer.
Not yet.
She didn't fall over in the trailer. She was like, oh, get on fat. So,
she did get
that's one thing that didn't happen yet.
She did get the shit slapped out of her, but
she did. That did happen.
But we'll get to that here in a minute too. And same with Leslie Jones. Like she's playing the same character she plays mostly on SNL and the sketches she's in SNL. So she's not really branching out. So when I heard these were the cast, I was like, okay, I'm on board. Like you said, the Bridesmaid was funny, but as soon as as soon as we got that trailer, it was as soon as we started getting pictures actually, of their uniforms and them posing and stuff. You're like, it's kind of like when people were comparing it to when you watch like a roller coaster video and they show you're about to enter Ghostbuster Land. It's like they were like videotaping that.
Yeah. Yeah.
What were you gonna say, Oscar?
I was gonna say the one thing that kind of really turned me off about it was like the cast is literally the old Ghostbusters, but they're literally not. They're not. Then like there isn't Vankman, but it's a woman, but it's essentially the character. Like I just felt like kind of like sad. Like you couldn't even be bothered to try a different like combination of types of characters. You had to have the wisecracking one, you had to have like the serious scientist one, you had to have the more of like, I don't know, I just felt like it would have been better if they legitimately tried to do different types of characters instead of like, well, let's get the shell of Vankman and then put Kate McKinnon in, or something like, let's get the shell of Dan Aykroyd and put like Kristen Wiig in it. You know what I mean? It's like, am I alone in that thing? Like, that's very disappointing.
Exactly what I thought when I saw them. Like, they're switching their personalities around with who's who, and not.
Yeah, I wouldn't complain about this if they got guys as well. I'm not saying like, oh, women are being the new Venkman. I'm saying like if they got like, God forbid, Adam Sandler and like
Wait, doesn't he have a cameo in the first Ghostbusters?
Does he?
Adam Sandler.
Or did I make that up? I thought I read something about that the other day.
Hey,
was he Slimer?
Maybe.
Was he Slimer? That would be awesome.
No.
Well, kind of just jumping forward into what I want to talk about is the trailer that we finally got after hearing all this rustle and like getting pictures. Like, okay, well, let's see if a trailer can change our minds, and so be it. You know, we're still kind of teetering on the fence whether or not we like this idea or not. And then we get this trailer, and it did not help at all. Yeah. This trailer comes out a week or two ago, and it has twice as many dislikes as likes, and not even Fantastic Four or Gods of Egypt got that bad of lashing on YouTube, but this movie has, it's got like 300,000 or 400,000 dislikes compared to the 150,000 likes, which is unheard of, and it's on Sony's YouTube channel, so you know they're looking at it and they're like shitting their pants as to what they need to do. So, what was your reaction when you saw the trailer for the first time, Oscar?
Well, I just want to say about the dislike ratio. I don't think it's that bad. I don't think it's that, like, dislikes like that and then likes like that. A Christmas Story 2 deserved like that. This one doesn't. It wasn't. I didn't think it was that bad. I just felt like I don't. Like, I watched the trailer and I just kind of felt like, yeah, it's kind of what I expected. Kind of another connection to Adam Sandler. I just felt like I got Pixel's vibe from it, from the trailer to this, because I just kind of felt like, hey, we're funny characters. Look at the city and look at the CG things we're going to have to try and destroy. I don't know. I just felt like it was kind of like that. It's kind of like Pixels trying to go, you remember your nostalgia? You remember the fun of Ghostbusters? Well, here it is. Again,
like a well-polished produced turd.
Yeah. I don't think the trailer was like the worst thing ever. There's been worse trailers. There has definitely been worse. That's not even a personal opinion. That there has been worse trailers like that. There's been things that's completely ruined a film where
Batman v Superman.
The dislike.
Sorry.
I've only seen the teaser, so I can't say anything about that.
Oh, okay. I won't get specific.
Well, Lindsey, what do you think when you saw the trailer?
Sorry, I kind of cut you off there.
It's okay. I was done.
Well, I grabbed the trailer on YouTube right now. It's got 195,000 likes, 465,000 dislikes. It's more than double. It's almost triple.
It's like people are just going there as part of their job and hitting the dislike button and then like going back to work or something.
Yes, they're like making multiple YouTube accounts just so they can drive up the dislike counter on this thing. And you know, the first time I watched this trailer, I just kind of was like, okay, that was a really bad trailer. But the more that I've watched it, like, okay, it's not a good trailer. I'm not going to sit here and defend it, but it's just not a good put-together trailer. Like, the pacing is so slow for a comedy. It's like it's setting up the jokes so much, and then it does the obvious joke. And I'm sitting here going, like, I mean, I guess that was funny. Like, the only moments that really get me are, like, Kate McKenna, where she's, like, for some reason got a wig on, and she's like... And, like, that's the only joke in there I didn't see coming. And I'm like, but that's just a weird moment to have in your movie. And, and then when she licked the gun, that was... I didn't see that coming either, but... That was also another. I don't know. Like, what do you make of a trailer like this, where it's just very by the numbers, very safe, but at the same time, like in the beginning, it starts off by explicitly saying, like, 30 years ago, this stuff happened, and now it's happening again, or something like that. But it's not happening again because this is a reboot. This is the first time it's ever happened in this world. So. Why
stay put? Man didn't happen. Yeah.
Yeah, like why not? Why? And why is there a ghost in the subway with an X through it? If ghosts aren't a big thing in this world, why is that a thing?
And they would have at least taken that from something they've seen before. So like it's just like they're not supposed to exist, but they exist, and you're referencing it, but they don't exist. And then the worst part about it is they're gonna have cameos from the guys from the original cast, but they're not gonna be playing their characters.
Yeah,
they're gonna be playing like a hot dog stand vendor or some schmo who walks by in the background and happens to throw him a piece of advice. The weirdest damn thing ever. But that's what they're gonna have him do. So
wait, no, they're gonna try and cross like a street that's like flooded with water, and then like Dan Aykroyd's gonna come out of nowhere and say like, "No, don't cross the stream."
and then pause for like the crowd either going ha 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 or ugh. and then no, yeah. But I just found it so like Bill Murray was so hilarious, the whole Bill Murray thing. The fact that he was like, no, I don't want anything to do with Ghostbusters anymore. Don't want anything to do with it. When Dan Aykroyd finally went, fine, we're not doing 3, we're doing a reboot. And then Bill Murray was like, I might cameo in it. I could just imagine Aykroyd being like, why didn't you do this when we were doing? It's like I'm just like, oh, Bill Murray. Like even though like you probably shouldn't, because why would you do that? But it's but yeah, that.
Well,
the cameos,
The cameos kind of go over some of the production news I want to go over. Like there's some rumors, news, and things that I had looked up, and one of them was that the studios are so worried about the movie not doing so well that they had like strong-armed or even threatened legal action against the cast, like Bill Murray and guys who weren't trying to get in to cameo, so that they would have something to fall back on, a name or at least a face to fall back on, and so that's why I think Bill Murray may have changed his mind. I'm not saying that's the reason, but maybe he was so strong on not doing it that finally legal action was like, all right, fine, I'll be a hot dog stand vendor for like 5 seconds, and that's it. So
that's so weird.
So kind of jumping into the production news, the rumors and things that we kind of heard about that I've looked up that seem valid now that we see in the trailer. One thing is like there's trouble production, that a couple of actors and some of the lead actresses were butting heads about who was getting more lines. People were I guess Kristen Wiig hated it so bad that she spent most of her time in a trailer talking about how much she hated her decision to be in the movie. And then also to the fact that Leslie Jones had to basically quit Twitter because she was getting so much backlash from, her character's currently playing a stereotypical black woman, in the trailer. Which that's something I want to talk about real quick. Is did you think that she came across that way as a stereotypical, or do you think because she's supposed to be like a historian of New York, so that's why she knows the streets, but they didn't play it off that way. They play it off as I know the streets. So did you think she came off that way, or do you think that do you think that people were overplaying it?
It's unfortunate. Yeah. It wasn't the greatest direction ever. Like, especially because, like you said earlier, everyone kind of reminds you of the previous characters. She just reminds me exactly like Ernie Hudson. Like, just kind of coming in late, being like, oh, hey, you guys are busting ghosts? So I could do that. You paying me, right? And now she's just kind of coming in while they're in the middle of all this, being like, hey, you guys need an extra hand? I know stuff. I can help out. You can take whatever interpretation you want of, her being a city worker and her race and stuff like that. But for me, I just really upset that she's just playing Ernie Hudson Part 2, and that's not even the character. That's the actor, isn't it? Ernie Hudson's the actor, isn't he?
Yeah.
What's the character? Winston. That's it. She's Winston Part 2.
Well, Winston, he's supposed to be the everyday man. He wasn't a scientist, so she's supposed to come in that way. But she's more like playing up the character, not the stereotype, and not like he was.
Right. Yeah. I mean.
I'm pushing that kind of thing to a side, and then with Leslie Jones, I don't know. It's like I could tolerate her throughout the entirety of the trailer. I was like, I get what she is, like what her character is. I get it. I get it's the same type of character in of every single mainstream comedy nowadays. Mm-hmm. The one bit that just really, I don't know. Like, this is the moment that the one moment that I legitimately just hated in the trailer was when she was just shouting and just slapping Melissa McCarthy. I don't know. It just came off as obnoxious more than anything else. Like what was it? Like, may the power of pain compel you or something like that. And then
by the power of Patty, her name, because she's Patty.
That's it.
Yeah.
Patty. Okay then. Like, that just came off really obnoxious. I don't know if that was just me, but I know that is legitimately like the only moment in the trailer which I'm like, God, shut up! I really don't. And if that is more her type of character, I wouldn't want to go in the cinema to see that.
Well, I'm afraid that's what all the characters are going to be like. I feel like all the characters rely on this sort of slapstick sort of humor, whereas the first Ghostbusters, it's just the humor comes from the characters, just like reaction to each other, their banter. It's not like they're setting up a joke that's going to pay off. It's just like the wit between the improvisation between Bill Murray, Dan Aykroyd, and those other and Harold Ramis. Is just like that's not what's going on here. This is like it's like a paint by numbers, like a sitcom version of the movie. It's like you have to have a joke every 30 seconds, and we're gonna have a terrible one, even though it has to be there.
Yeah, they're not focusing much on like the dialogue comedy. They're focusing more on physical comedy, which can work. Not as much nowadays. More so back in the old golden age of cinema, more so. But it's like you can make slapstick work now, but it needs to be done very, very well. But Ghostbusters was never a physical joke type of thing. At least when I remember. I don't remember, like, there may be been a few, but the main jokes I remember from Ghostbusters are, it's like they caused a power explosion. Is this true? Yes, it's true. This man has no dick. I remember that joke. I remember that.
I remember that. And this man has no dick.
That's it. Yeah, I remember that. That's funny. But it's like the thing that the main joke, I feel like from just watching the trailer, the main joke I walked away from was like, oh, look at Kristen Wiig and all the slime, and look at Melissa McCarthy getting slapped. And
the only part that
wasn't really anything.
Yeah, the only part that I really liked. What's that?
I was going to say that. I'm not sure if you were going to say this bit, but there was the moment where it's like, let's go. Oh, should we say it? Okay, you say it next time. Like, that moment did slightly make me chuckle. Where they were like, let's do it, and then like, let's do it. Oh, sorry, should you? Yeah, that bit made me go, that's clever, because that did feel kind of impromptu. Yeah. That did kind of feel more like improvised, more like the actors putting their spin on it, rather than like here's a recycled version of the characters from 1984.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly, yeah, and like you said, it's that joke, that part, yeah, it made me. That was one part that kind of got a little chuckle out of me, and then the only other part that I kind of liked about it was just watching them all together when they're shooting off the I can't think of the
proton.
The proton pack, yeah, they all had the proton pack shooting. I was like, oh, that's cool to see them all come together. But I was like, that's not gonna be till the end, and we're gonna watch this like a crappy version of a what do you want to call it? Not an intro, but I'm blanking on everything right now.
Sorry, it's a music.
I can't help you there.
Whatever. I
can't help you this way.
Whatever. I'm moving on to the next thing. Anyways, we're talking about Paul Feig, the director. So on top of all this trailer backlash, he's stepping up on Twitter and he's calling people out. He's calling people out by name, F-bombs, threats left and right. So he could be pulling Josh Trank here by trying to over-defend himself on this situation. Do you think that may have do you think that backfire like Josh Trank by Paul Feig trying to come out and call out the haters and tell people not to hate on the actors but to hate on him? Like, is it too much attention he's bringing to himself, or do you think he should just let it ride?
Well, I think anytime this is the thing that we're seeing more and more these days, and like with the internet and criticism and things like that. People just need to calm down. Every time you over the top react to any negative criticism on Twitter, you're not doing the right thing. And I get it. I do. Like, I've had people say negative things about me and my videos and my acting in this or project or that, and it sucks. But you need to learn to take it. And yeah, I'm saying that as someone who reviews things on the internet, but like, if you can't take like a little bit of criticism, you probably shouldn't be in a position when you're in this much of a, you shouldn't be in this profession where you're so in the spotlight, where you're so in the public eye and people are following you. Because, like, what's going to happen next time you do something that people dislike and there's a huge thing on the internet about not looking good? Are you just going to explode again? Are you just going to explode every time anyone says anything negative about you? What are you going to do when the movie comes out and it's got a 5% on Rotten Tomatoes? Are you going to make another huge Twitter rant then? I understand it hurts. It sucks, but exploding on Twitter is never the answer.
I couldn't agree more with you. I really couldn't. Every time I've seen someone just let loose on Twitter or social media or whatever, it's never been the best in any situation. It's always come out worse for them. Mm-hmm. Because all you're doing then is you're making yourself look like the bad guy, because you're literally just throwing logs on the fire just to give them more of an excuse to lash out at you. I don't know exactly what Paul Feig tweeted, but I mean, okay then. And then, like the whole, like Josh Trank and stuff like that, and like even like kind of like what happened in the video game area with Phil Fish when he just let loose and everything, and look at what happened to him. He just completely just went done. But it's like, and I'm going to use an example of like what it's using myself, so it might be slightly egotistical. But there was a comment that I got, which was, once again, like I got a bad comment on a video because I gave The Great Beauty a bad review because I didn't like it for my own personal reasons. I know, and of course I got foreign film fans. You don't get it. You're too young. And one person literally went, "You need to read more and watch more good films. Then you will understand it." And then I was like, I could either say, "Shut up, get out, and never come back again," or I can take the high road and be decent. I literally said a decent answer, and what I got back from this person was like, "Nice, I like your comment. I'll watch more of your content."
Oh, there you go.
It's an example. Again, I'm not saying like I'm Paul Feig in this situation. I didn't make Ghostbusters, but I mean, you never know. If Paul Feig just simply said, "Well, that's your opinion. Oh well, then don't go and see the film. Then people who want to see it will see it." Mm-hmm. I would at least have more respect for him than going like, whatever he said. You know what I mean? It's like it just comes off really unprofessional. And even though it's a creative medium and it's not a real job, it's still a job, and you're still a professional. You still have to be a professional because you need to have a good image to try to continue your career. And if someone looks at you and it's like, that guy said that one thing, they're gonna associate that name with whatever bad thing you said, not like, oh, this guy might have made a good film once upon a time. Mm-hmm. I'm not the biggest fan of Spike Lee for his personal opinions, in all honesty, but I'm like, I don't really want to support Spike Lee for the things that he said, and like, just if you're getting bad criticism, at the end of the day, just shut up, and, like, just let it happen. In all honesty, not fight back.
Right. And it's easy for us to say that because we're not the ones that are getting the comments about how, like, oh, your movie is like ruining my childhood. Your movie is sexist and appealing to the lowest common denominator and shit like that. And it's not our movie that has 465,000 dislikes on YouTube. So we need to keep. But at the same time, it paints you in a bad light, and you're doing it publicly. So that means that people that are going to want to work with you in the future are going to see that, and your audience is going to see that. And like, even if you delete the tweets in this day and age, people archive everything. You can, if it's sent out, someone somewhere has a copy of it still. I mean, maybe not us, because no one cares about us that much so far. But like,
you never know. We all can have stalkers, and we don't know it.
Exactly.
We really could. If you put someone on the internet, if you're at that status of what Paul Feig gets, it's never going away.
Yeah.
You can delete it. Someone screenshotted it.
Yeah.
Someone has in the world. We live in a world where everyone's connected. We're not just like, oh, this one country, but no, we live in a world where we're all connected by the internet. So someone is going to probably see this and be like, oh, I'm going to screenshot this for whatever reason. He may delete it. People may be like, hey, do you remember when Paul Feig went absolutely AWOL on Twitter? Like, and then that's going to still be there.
Yeah.
And I mean, I've definitely had my rants on Facebook. Like, you know, I have a bad day at work, I come home on Facebook and I just bitch about it or something like that. Or or it's something on my channel on my face. But that's my Facebook page. That's that's my private thing. Like, there's only like people, well, supposedly only people I know are seeing that. I guess we don't really know, but I'm not saying out to the world, "Fuck you" to this entire massive chunk of my potential audience base. Like,
exactly, yeah.
So,
especially with a property name like Ghostbusters, you don't want to be trying like with a property like Ghostbusters. You don't want to put somewhat of a bad reputation behind it. You know what I mean? Like, why would you want to jeopardize that?
I definitely agreed.
I mean, I guess he didn't learn his lesson from watching Tarantino. What was that?
What was that? I just said, like, it's going to make its money back. I'm not saying, like, no matter what, it's like Pulp Fiction can do whatever. It's probably going to make its money back. That's it. But yeah.
Yeah, it's not going to set any records. It'll probably make its money back just from the name itself and then from people just being interested. But yeah, I agree with you guys. It's just not professional for him to go out and just bash people, because there's millions of people who are out there. There's probably thousands who are hating on it. So if you try to hit up as many people as possible, it's just never gonna work out. He's exhausting himself on the wrong thing. And yeah, like I said, he should just take it with a grain of salt. He's in the entertainment business. This just comes with the territory. I know it's probably not. This is not his first time he's done this kind of thing. I guess he's done it before.
Really?
But like you said, Oscar, he hadn't done it with a franchise like this. This is the Ghostbusters. So like Josh Trank did with Fantastic Four, which he probably had every right to state his mind, but it was just bad timing for the movie and bad business all around, and so they didn't like that. And so I think Paul Feig could be getting himself into some trouble with these type of rants, because not only are the trailers not turning out well, but if he's calling out fans, then he's giving them more reason to not go see the movie. So I think he should just cool off. So we'll see. But that kind of wraps up some things I want to talk about in regards to production news. The last thing I kind of want to talk about is just we keep seeing our classic movies getting revived and rebooted and ruined and all these kind of things. What do you guys think is what's left? What's the next thing that we're gonna get that's gonna get rebooted, relaunched, whatever they want to call it? What's the next classic? What do you guys think?
I just had like an awful shudder just thinking about anything that, like, I don't know. We're getting in a time like we're starting to get to a point where we're getting all the 80s films getting done and everything. We might get to the 90s sooner or later, which means there's a.
I'm waiting for Demolition Man with Michael B. Jordan and Miles Teller.
Oh wow!
Oh please. And I mean, as long as they don't touch Tarantino, like leave him out of it, like leave him. Like, see the exact reaction Tarantino. Like,
Pulp Fiction was Zac Efron.
But it's like one thing I hope they don't do is like, hey, maybe we should go back further. Who's this Alfred Hitchcock fella that we can do? Like, just like, or like, well, they tried it with Psycho.
Oh yeah, they did. They remade Psycho shot for shot.
Vince Vaughn.
Yeah, Vince Vaughn. What a choice for Norman Bates.
Oh.
But it's like, I mean, like Kubrick, like we might get another Shining. I will honestly I wouldn't sign. I'm not these type of people who be like, I want to sign a petition so this doesn't get made. But if I see a Clockwork Orange remake happening, I will instantly create so many pages to make sure that doesn't get made, because that is something that I would really not like to be remade or anything like that. But it's like Hollywood, they're probably remaking all sorts of things right now. They're probably. I mean, isn't the Scarface thing still happening?
Did you guys see the Ben-Hur trailer yesterday? Oh my God!
I didn't.
Terrible.
I didn't.
So
I did not see that.
I was like,
is it Ghost?
Dry?
Is it Christmas Story 2 bad?
No,
not that bad. But it's like Pompeii / Hercules / Clash of Titans.
It's that type of thing.
Yeah.
Yikes.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm actually seeing Ben-Hur for the first time tonight, the classic one, the old black and white one.
That one, yeah.
Yeah, so when I saw the Ben-Hur trailer, I'm like, oh, this looks okay. I have no frame of reference, but this looks okay. Although, I will admit the costume looks exactly like something out of the Maze Runner. Like the shirt with the weird backpack. You know what I mean? Like, doesn't that kind of fit? Like...
I've seen the screenshot, and yeah. Yeah.
I just want to know where Morgan Freeman gets his dreads done.
Right?
Is Morgan Freeman in it?
Yeah.
He should move on from these damn roles, but he's been the wise black man since
what is it
94.
What is it with him and Michael Caine, who are just in everything, just being the wise old man?
Getting paid.
I kid you not. When like we were in the cinema and like the last Witch Hunt trailer came on and Michael Caine's voice came up, and then my mate literally just went, oh. Like, as soon as Michael Caine popped on screen, because he's just gone sick of him. And I'm like, could you just not, like, can you just find some really independent director to just stay on? Like, I mean, Bill Murray found Wes Anderson.
It's funny, because both actors have been on record saying that they both pick up movies strictly for the paychecks. I remember Michael Caine has been quoted. They asked him about the Jaws movie he was in. He's like, I've never seen it, but I've seen the house that it built. And then they asked Morgan Freeman about all the movies that he takes and all the roles. He's like, I don't know. I definitely take movies for the money now. Like, he knows. He says he's gonna take the wise black man, the sage black man who's gonna be giving advice. So he's just gonna keep getting paid. So we'll see how that turns out. Best of luck with the Ben-Hur viewing tonight, Lindsey. Hopefully changes your perspective on this new trailer, because it is not good compared to the old one. I mean, this is my point of view. If you like it, you like it. I'm not going to hate on you for that at all.
Not the day you can hate me, bro. I hate you too.
I hate your guts. You're never coming on again.
I'm blocking you. You're banished.
I'm disliking all your videos.
Who knows? The movie could actually be good. I've heard Gods of Egypt was decent. We're just hating on it too much. It was one of those bandwagon hates. But, well, we're just diverging here. I think that was about everything that I wanted to get into in regards to the Ghostbusters franchise, all the movie news and rumors that we've been hearing about. I definitely want to thank my two guests who were on the show today. We had Lindsey and Oscar. Thanks for making the time today, guys. I really do appreciate it. Tell everybody where they can find you and follow, subscribe, all that good stuff. So, Lindsey, let them know where they can find you.
Guys, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for having me back again, man. This is also my third time, I realized halfway through the show, so third time for life.
Third time the charm.
Exactly. This is definitely our best one yet. I've got my YouTube channel, My 2 Cents of Nonsense. I'm going to be starting, I think, Sunday watching Daredevil Season 2, and I'm going to review each episode just like I did with Jessica Jones. Hopefully that'll be a good time. I'm very excited. And I'm on Twitter at Lindsey Pank. Hit me up. Say hi.
Nice. And Oscar, where can everyone find you?
For YouTube, you can find me youtube.com/HeelPictures, and at the moment we're not uploading too much because we're focusing a lot on filming. But you can look back and see what we've got on the channel. I'll try to do a podcast. I was thinking maybe doing a podcast weekly. I'll see. Maybe that might be a thing. But you can see what we're doing that wise on the YouTube channel. You can follow me on Twitter, which is at the moment where I'm more active at the moment. And you can see what I'm tweeting about, whether if I'm tweeting about a film or a wrestling thing. Most likely I'm tweeting about wrestling these days. You can see what I'm doing there. Instagram, heel_Oscar, because they stole someone. I tried to get it changed to match my Twitter, but that was already taken, so boo. And yeah, and then but yeah, just follow me on whatever. I get around on the webs. I had to preface by saying on the webs, so I didn't come across as some.
It's okay. I'm gonna edit it out so that you don't say that. It's just, you get around.
No. If you want a British person to speak to you when you're no, but yeah, there you go. I'm doing all that stuff. Nothing interesting much is happening recently with me, but yeah, thank you all for watching this, and thanks for having me on. This was definitely fun. I certainly enjoy coming on these podcasts to talk about some stuff, and yeah. It's been fun. This has definitely been the best one I've been on. We've had a good discussion with all of them, with everyone.
Nice.
Not to discredit the other ones I've been on.
It's all right.
Not as incredible
They
ones.
were a sham. I hate them both as well. So it's
The
okay.
Hobbit, the Hobbit one. Throw that to the side. And
Yeah, gone. I deleted it already.
Delete it.
But I appreciate it. I appreciate it. Yeah, this was a good discussion we had today, and you guys everyone can find me at Search the Time Review on YouTube and Search the Time on Twitter. I'll be keep doing the podcast as always next week. I think are we getting Batman v Superman next week?
Yeah, we are.
We
We're try to do a Batman v Superman podcast review. So hopefully we'll get some people who want to see who've seen the movie on Thursday. Maybe get in and see and talk about it on Friday. So I'm excited for that. I'm sure you guys already got my prepaid ticket. So tune in for that next week. And then we'll be doing a live podcast, a commentary, Star Wars The Force Awakens, here in a few weeks when that comes out on DVD. So that'll be awesome as well. So thanks again, everybody, for tuning in. Again, thanks for my guests for being on the show. And everyone, be excellent to each other. Later.
Peace.